Oh, hello, boys.
Hello there.
Hello. How's it going, mate?
Oh, I didn't see you there. Hello, boys. How are you doing?
What have you got
I'm
for us
doing
then, Nice?
fantastic,
Hit
man.
me with some nuggets. You've been away for a while.
Yes, let's hear
Nugs.
it. Let's hear it.
Oh, what? That's a cold call. What?
Oh, how
Nugs.
about
I
this?
need some stimulus.
Yeah.
I need a real life situation trigger my nugs. It just doesn't happen like that. What are you up to, bro?
Do you want me to give you a topic?
Yeah, sure. Come on.
Cryptocurrency. There you
It's
go.
like he's a
Topical.
monkey, man. Oh.
Cryptocurrency. Yeah, have you heard about this decentralization thing? I think it's fucking beautiful, man. You don't have central government looking over your shoulders. You have just these agents operating in an environment with their own simple
Mm.
rules, and they arise this spontaneous order from
Oh,
things like
yes.
that. It's so, oh my God, it's so beautiful.
It is really fantastic. It has to be involved in the future somehow. Like, I don't have a really deep
Absolutely,
understanding of
yeah.
that. There has to be
And,
some role for it.
and you like ever since free markets, you see this decentralization just rocking over these uh, human designed things. Like you see TV dying these days because it's so
Oh, yeah.
fixed, it's so planned and such and such. And now you see these social media platforms
Mm.
rising because people are in control. They're just, I don't know, doing
Right,
their own
right.
thing. And now this whole platform, blah, 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 videos, guys, whatever, doing
Okay. Okay. This
it
is a
just
good starting
dies.
point. So, how about this? In learning, is there any role at all for this sort of centrally planned style rather than just like the undirected, more decentralized style that we've sort of found to be more useful? But do you think there's any role for the centralized sort of style?
Mm. Well, I'll just ask this first. Another thing related to crypto. Have you ever heard of losing half of your portfolio in a couple of days? Because I have. I have heard of that,
Ah,
and I saw it happen to me, dude.
oh,
Oh,
damn. There
unbelievable.
goes the
Anyway.
mansion. Fuck.
No, it's okay. I'm never gonna sell, buddy. And it's not a loss if you don't sell. All right, hold
Mm,
the line,
like
buy
that.
the dip. Let's go. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine because I was gonna hold Ethereum for a long time anyway. But anyway, just thought it was funny. All right, go ahead. Apologize. What were you
Wait,
gonna say, James?
Oh yeah,
Role of centralization. You said.
yeah, no, yeah. Just like oh, sorry, that crypto thing is so funny. I've been seeing that all over Twitter, by the way, like people losing shit ton of money. But uh, what was I saying?
You
Uh,
sell. Don't sell. Come on, man. Keep holding it. Anyway, go ahead.
okay. Yeah, I was gonna say basically like on the decentralization theme, like do you think there's any role for centralization in learning sort of stuff? I
yeah,
think
I think it has a damn big role in form of school. If you just look
Mm.
around, their school systems all around.
no, I mean
It's
like
pretty well
is there any like good use for it? That's what I mean.
used.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. Every
Mm.
time I try to talk about this, because people will say things like, "Oh, the U.S. dollar, it's backed up by something. It's supported by the government, this and that, right?" But when you really get down to it, and again, I don't know anything about economics, so it's weird because I know what I'm about to say is wrong. I just don't know what the right thing is.
Mm,
But it seems like all currencies, anything with value, gets its value purely because people say it has value, right?
mm.
It's just
Mm.
it's a big game we're all playing together. Where it's like, oh, I would like that metal you have because there's not that much of it. So I'll give you this for that. Or I would like these dollars, so I'll give you my hours in exchange for those dollars. Like we're all in agreement that currencies have value. And so if we all agree that Bitcoin has value or Ethereum has value or even Dogecoin has value, I don't see what makes one more or less like nothing is supported by anything other than mass psychology, right?
Mm.
Like you could say it's supported by gold or whatever, like, but at the end of it, it's all the same. Is that wrong to say? It seems wrong.
I think
No, I think it's pretty much right. People make the value, and yeah, I think it's spot on.
Yeah, I
All
think I
right.
agree.
Thanks, pal. I feel good about myself now. I guess it's some
Hmm.
economic stuff. Got it right. Thank you very much.
Nice to have your back, buddy.
James, did you have anything in mind when you asked that? Like, what do you think?
Oh,
Uh,
he asked in context of learning, right? And
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
I had
what
no
are we
idea.
What
talking
is this
about?
guy talking about money? What's this?
I had no idea.
I was gonna roll
I'm
with it.
sorry,
I'm
guys.
happy
I
to talk
was
about some
stuck on the
money.
crypto thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I kind of agree. I think I agree with you on the money thing. I think the people just believing in something, people believe that it has value because other people believe it has value. If you know what I mean. Like some
right.
people
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
a currency, um, it becomes a currency when people like have to pay taxes in it and it becomes legal tender or whatever. And
Mm,
that's true. And it's like it becomes a currency when it has stable value, so you can actually, you know, predict things and know how much something is valued compared to something else over a longer period of time, which is something that the cryptocurrencies don't really have. But ultimately, it comes down to that sort of belief, everyone sort of believing in something at the same time, which is, it seems like it would be kind of like a shaky foundation for a currency, but it's actually really uh, it's just like a lot of decentralized things. If you have to change everyone's mind at once about the same thing, it's like that's a really hard thing to do. So,
right.
the belief
Right.
in the currency, it seems to persist quite strongly, just because, yeah, I don't even know how you would go about changing everyone's mind
Mm,
at once. Change has to propagate really slowly in that sort of decentralized sort of network style. Whereas if it's centralized, you can, obviously the government could just say tomorrow, okay, we no longer. Well, I mean, this happened like in 19, I think it's 1971, right? The like the US dollar and the was like pegged to gold or something like that. I don't know
right.
exactly how it
Yes.
works, but
Yes.
yeah, Nixon just goes, he clicks his fingers, and suddenly the peg no longer exists. You can no longer exchange US dollars for gold. So when it's that sort of centralized system, you can just have these overnight switches. But when you have a decentralized system, there's no way for the government to just say this thing can no longer be considered currency or whatever.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And think of the huge value of that. Like, you don't have to rely on anybody being honest or truthful about the blockchain.
Mm.
The blockchain is always real. That's the benefit of it, as far as I understand. It always shows what really happened. And so we don't have to trust each other or anything. The system enables the trust. That's what the trust is. But just as an example, have you guys not an example of that, but something else. Have you guys seen John Wick, that
Oh,
movie?
I don't think so.
No.
I've heard it's good, but I haven't seen it.
Oh, you gotta watch it. That movie's incredible. Anyway, I'll just summarize it. This guy was an assassin in some secret society, and if you do well in that society, you get these coins, and you can exchange them with other people in the society, and they'll basically do anything for you. They'll clean up a murder, they'll murder someone else for you. I mean, it's crazy, right? So this guy, he's like the best one. John Wick, he's like the best guy ever in this society. It's been a while, so I don't remember the details. But he has all kinds of these coins. And it made me think like the government, no, barely anybody in the world agrees that these coins have value. But if you can find anybody who does, the value that you get in return is wickedly high. Like you can essentially ask them to do anything for you
Mm.
because you're giving them one of these. I forget what they're called. It's just like a coin. It has like it's a physical object, and he's just giving them one of these coins, and they'll do anything for him. So even though barely anybody agrees that it has value, like if you give that to a normal person, it means nothing. But if you can find somebody for whom it does have value, it's immense. You know,
Mm. Yeah,
I'm
that's a
not
very
sure
good
that's a
point.
good example, but I'm just saying like you definitely don't need you don't need everybody to agree that something has value in order to get value from it yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Literally just one other person. And it could
Right,
be, yeah,
exactly. Or
yeah.
like a small community, like that's what these trading things are. Like I've recently heard of like Magic the Gathering trading. I don't know anything
Mm.
about the game, but apparently you can like trade these cards or like buy some exclusive or rare card and you can hold on to it for a while and it appreciates. And then there's like this big trading market. So yeah, I think this kind of thing is known and it's just like these cryptocurrencies are a little bit broader than that. But then the thing is like with how unregulated they are right now, I mean it's wicked because like on Robinhood, if you put a sell limit, like a limit order on Robinhood, sometimes I'll just watch it and it'll blast through it. I'll watch the price that I set and it'll just blast through it. It just won't sell. And it's like, dude, this is insane. If these were securities, it would have to be illegal, right? Like there's no way that you could literally make me lose money because of your failed system and nothing bad will happen to you, right? Anyway, I don't want to get too caught up in the cryptos, but I think the decentralization aspect is hugely important, and I don't think it matters how many people think it has value, as long as some people do.
Oh, you just reminded me with that the sell order thing. Like the mechanism sounds exactly the same as how it was back in the day. Like there's this famous event in financial history called Black Monday or something, where the stock
right,
market
yeah.
like crashed like 20% or something. A ton of people
Yeah.
lost a bunch of money, but people thought they were
Right.
going to be insured against these losses because they'd bought some sort of insurance. But the problem was that, you know, as the price started falling and it was just crashing through their sell orders or whatever, the brokers would just refuse to pick up the phone. So the phone would be ringing and they just refused to pick it up. So none of the sell orders got like fulfilled or whatever. So it's kind of the
Fuck
same.
that. You're gonna pick
Oh.
that shit up.
Exactly. They just unplug the phone and then yeah.
Yeah.
All
Wow.
your worries are gone, just like that.
Just unplug the phone. Oh man, can you imagine that? Wow.
I know. Oh man. Oh, on the subject of like this decentralized thing, I don't know how much longer we want to go on on this subject, but another one that I thought of, it was like you know Lex Friedman's podcast. He brought on like Michael Malice. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he really believes in like anarchism or anarchy or something like that. And
Wait, what is that?
I've seen this guy. I don't really know anything about him.
yeah, one of the examples he brought up is as an example of one of these really decentralized sort of anarchic systems is like language. So it's like no one regulates language. There's, well, I mean, you can say that less today. People do try and police language more and more, but obviously originally language just completely, it was like completely organic. And look at
Right.
how incredible it is, how flexible it is, and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
Which is why it's silly when people say things like, "Oh, that's not a real word." It doesn't matter. Like that's how it's supposed to work. If a bunch of people start using a word and then it's normal to use it, or the form of a word or the use of a word switches from one thing to another, that's entirely normal. Like that's how language evolves, which is like awesome. And I want to know, I've thought of this, like how could language, what's the spark? Where's the upstart for language? Like how do you go from no words to words and then spread those words and everybody's speaking sort of roughly the same language? That is miraculous. I know it sounds like really stupid to say that, but to me that sounds like insanely amazing. I guess not. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just some. What was that?
No, I guess you guys don't agree with how amazing that is.
No, I totally agree. I think it's a really interesting thing. And I see in my head, I see some cavemen seeing some very frequent phenomenon in real world. And now these two cavemen pointing out, blah, 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 that is that thing. And now these two guys, they're in agreement. They want to communicate that phenomenon.
Right.
And as you
Right.
get more people, it starts spreading. And now you do this on more frequent encounters in the wilderness, and you just start attaching words to it. That's all it is. Like
Yeah.
like saying that it's not a word, maybe not, but the concept definitely is. It's a like concept is defined like a frequent recurring pattern in oh fuck, it was so good, but how was the wording? Frequent recurring pattern in your brain that represents some phenomenon in the real world that we can attach words to, or something like that. So there will always be more concepts than there is words, and the words are really arbitrary. The concepts are real. There are some part of external world, and then we just start calling them whatever. And as it's the same thing like in social media. Some posts gain how do you say, attraction or whatever. Yeah, and then the more people start liking the post, that is a high signal that there's something here, and now more people coming. That's like bandwagon effect. More people start gathering around because there's more people, and it's this positive feedback loop. So it's the same
Right.
thing. Same thing with the concepts and words and language. As you get more people to use it, it comes this mutual agreement that this is a thing. So
Mm.
I don't know. I think it's a real interesting phenomenon.
I've been rereading. Do you know the book *Sapiens*? It's like the brief history of
Yeah.
humankind. It's Yuval Noah
Yeah.
Harari, I think.
And James,
Mm.
how you're so into history lately? You're just popping these Black Month gains. Whatever. I was just mind is blown how much you know.
Dude, this
He
is
even knows about Richard Nixon, man. what Nixon did.
Dude,
Oh,
I
man.
literally have an item about pretty much all of those things. It's just luck, I think.
Amazing.
All being brought up. But yeah, this book it's just like a pop science book, but it like
Yeah.
does a quick survey of like
Quite good.
it's really pretty good. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was talking about the development of language. That like he really places an emphasis on humans developing a language that was really different to other forms of communication in nature. So
Mm.
like loads of organisms communicate, even like unicellular bacteria can send these chemical signals between each other that can regulate like where they spread to, because they don't want to, they want to sort of share out nutrients, and they don't want to go where loads of other bacteria are and so on. So they all need a
Yeah, I see
mechanism of...
unicellular organisms communicate every day on Twitter. Amazing.
There you go. Zing. There we go.
Damn.
Beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
the same thing with the slime mold or whatever the fuck. James, you know, it's a
Yeah.
slime mold thing.
They-
It communicates by pulsating or something like that. Weird thing that
Right.
marks that we've been here, don't come here again. There was no food, and that's communication essentially, and it's intelligence essentially.
Exactly.
very
So
Yeah.
all of these like organisms, even the most simple ones in nature, they have this ability to communicate somehow. But then the way human communication, according to Harari, he says that human communication differs in that you're able to communicate about things that aren't like perceivable directly. So you're able to talk about more abstract things, concepts that, if you think of like a conceptual chain of things, like right back to all the things that you can actually see in reality, we also have all of those concepts built on top of those layers at the bottom,
Right.
that represent higher order concepts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And once you have all of those, you can start having more abstract thought. And then he sort of ties that into the ability to believe in things. And I guess that kind of like to believe in stories. I mean, stories about the world, like for example, about currencies. Currencies don't, not really existing, but people believe in them, so they do. Companies not really existing, but people believe in them, and so they really do, and so on. And so once you have that faculty for higher conceptual thought, then you're able to believe in these wacky stories and stuff, and that then gives you another sort of layer of communication, which allows you to cooperate on huge scales, like multinational scales and so on. Yeah.
Right. That's a really good point. And you mentioned, once you can have a word for something that doesn't have a physical representation, you're enabling more abstract thought. And I really think that's true. To a certain degree, people think like the thoughts you would have, they would just be about the thing itself instead of the word. But I don't really think that's true. I think language, you can even observe this now, even though we already have an existing language. When you create a new term for some concept that was previously just a bunch of components that you hadn't yet wrapped something around. I think that phrase is from Hofstadter, by the way. But anyway, as soon as you do that, you can think more easily about it, and you can have thoughts that you otherwise wouldn't have, even though you were already in some sense thinking about the thing. The addition of the word to describe it makes it into one unit, and so now you can think more clearly about it. And like language is not just for communication with others. You know what I mean? In some way, language structures your thoughts.
Oh yeah, that's a good question actually, because I was wondering about this because someone was telling me a while ago that when they do their deepest thinking, they're not really thinking in terms of words. Like they just sort of have thoughts and they appear, or something like that. So I don't know. Can you
Mm.
like introspect and tell me what do you actually do when you're thinking? Are you thinking in terms of words? Are you seeing pictures or what?
Mm. It's hard. I mean, yesterday I was learning something new in a web development framework, and as I was learning it, I was I recognized like, oh, I just accepted that. Like I was able to understand that without thinking of any words. Like
Mm,
I just I recognized that I didn't even think of anything particular about it. It was like I integrated the concept directly or something. And I couldn't quite figure out the mechanics of it, but I did recognize that yesterday. Like I wonder what is happening there. How could it be that you absorb a concept as what it is? No language, nothing. It's just the idea of it.
Yeah, I really couldn't describe how I see things. I think this is it's like some kind of feelings, pulsations, images, words, like some freaking mess. I couldn't describe it. It's
Yeah.
real, real, like flashes probably would be a good way to put it.
Mm,
Some kind of flashes of thing just passing by, and I just now I know what we're talking about or what's happening. Just some flash.
right.
That's all.
I know exactly what you mean, dude.
Yeah.
The one way I've always thought about this is like as you get to know a human being, right? So you first meet somebody, you know nothing about them, so they're kind of nebulous to you. You have no idea how they react to certain things or what they like or this kind of thing, right? But as time goes on, months or years, you develop this cohesive picture of them in your mind, not like an actual photo of them, but just who they are, what they represent. And now, whenever you think of them at all for any length of time, you get this flash, like you say, of not all the details about them, but their concept in your mind. Like, oh, I just am I making sense here? Does that make sense to you
Yeah,
guys?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Like it's
yeah.
so robust concept
Right.
structure in
Yes.
your brain that it's like a highway to get there because it's so reinforced through the many
Right.
repetition, many encounters. So it's like
Yes.
this place. It's like a city in your brain that is very easy way easy to get to, and it just flashes because it's so freaking
Yes.
quick. And yeah, I
It's
don't know. It's really
fantastic.
interesting. Yeah.
And that's how these like items in incremental reading, I feel like when you get it right, that's what it feels like. It
Mm.
feels like flashes. It feels like units. It feels like just like mild activations, and you're just speeding your way through, and they're just sort of aiding you. And I don't know. It's really hard to articulate. And I had this thought the other night. I don't think in my entire life that I've ever articulated with fullness even a single thought that I've ever had. Do you know what I mean by that?
Wait,
Like
what did you say? Like with what did you say?
in full. I mean completely. Like take any thought the way that it's
Yeah,
in the mind. I don't
yeah,
think I've
yeah.
ever completely articulated in writing or in speech any complete thought in terms of
Mm,
how it feels, how it looks, all that stuff.
yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean by
right.
that?
Because there's so many components around it,
Exactly. Exactly.
which of most are this kind of tacit knowledge or feelings or whatever that is very
Right.
hard to communicate. Anyways, this highway thing, the city thing, the big concept friend thing. It reminds me of why redundancy at multiple angles and a lot of instances is so crucial when you want to build strong concepts. It's like you gather many instances and from this concept. It's like building this city, and it goes like every path will lead to Rome kind of thing. The
Mm,
more paths you have, the easier it is to activate this concept, and the more robust it will be, the more stable it will be because there's so many
mm,
paths that real life situations will activate it more. The more it activates, the more this will get reinforced, and it is this self feeding loop kind of thing. And yeah, just a point I wanted to make.
I agree completely with that, which is why analogies and this kind of thing are so powerful. Like it happens all the time, dude. A couple days ago, I was watching that Jerry Seinfeld comedians in cars getting coffee show, and he was talking to somebody, and he asked them, "Do you remember when I used to eat those bowls of cereal?" Because I guess when they were doing the show, he would eat cereal a lot during the off time. And they asked him, "Do you still eat cereal?" And he said no. And like he said it as if he's got to like become an adult and eat better. And for some reason I thought, oh, so Jerry Seinfeld stopped eating cereal and then Christopher Hitchens stopped smoking, right? But that doesn't make any sense. Like the connection there is conceptually I have representations of who Jerry Seinfeld is, which is like this confident guy who has everything, who doesn't need other people's approval, this kind of thing, right? And he stopped eating cereal because he knew it was best for him. And then I have the same conception or similar for Christopher Hitchens, and he stopped smoking because he knew it was best for him. That's the link, right? That's the link. Even if you are confident or you don't need other people's approval or you don't mind doing things to excess, you at some level, once you become an adult, you have to recognize unhealthy behaviors and acknowledge that you need to quit them. You know what I mean? Like that was the analogy, but it was just some guy mentioning that he doesn't eat cereal anymore. Like that's so wild.
There's so many crazy ones. I
Damn.
got the plate analogy today again, which I sent a video to you guys. I was cleaning a plate, and there's water here, and I didn't right with towel, so I kind of just start shaking it, and droplets are coming out of the plate. And now I get this analogy that this is exactly what I do with my dick after I take a
Oh,
pee.
no.
And now I'm shaking my wiener of the droplets out of my wiener, and that's
Oh, no.
exactly the same. That is beautiful analogy right there. Like penis and plate, those are not really compatible, but there's the mechanism of drying the thing or getting the droplets out of the thing, and yeah, it's
Incredible.
crazy beautiful.
Yeah. Analogies are they're so, I don't know. It's always happening and it's amazing. It's amazing just to watch it happen in the mind.
Yeah, it actually happens like several times per second.
Yeah.
Most of them are just so unconscious that we don't really pay attention to it.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. Like every time you solve a problem, or at least every time like when I'm coding and I solve a problem,
Mm.
it seems like it's always a result of, oh, I've seen a problem like this. Like it's always
Exactly.
that. It's
It's
always that.
analogous
Not
to past
sometimes,
situations.
always.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's like what we were talking about with George. I don't know if you caught that podcast, Nico, but George was talking about how expertise and in general it's about how expertise is just remembering previous things and then applying it to the current situation. And it's like I really think analogies are the crucial thing there. It's like your brain is going, oh, you've solved this before, but it was a little bit different, and then it's just you poured it over to this situation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm convinced that there's really no other way to come to conclusion that, but yeah, analogies. How it could even be possible? Like every
Right.
dog you see is analogous. Like even
Right.
even if you don't care about the what is it like? Not race, like
Oh, the
dogs have
breed?
like
Breed.
yeah breed. You don't care about those. Like if you didn't have this generalization power, every dog you see, you couldn't make the connection that this is a dog. Every dog would be a new one. So because you have this generalization power, you can come up with this abstract concepts, forget about the breed, and now apply that kind of a blueprint to new dogs you see, and that
Right.
is essentially
Right.
what intelligence is. And I love the way James linked me some video. I love the way he put it, like intelligence, in other words, generalization power, is sensitivity to abstract analogies. And that's
Mm.
a really good way to put it.
Yeah. Oh,
Who said that?
it was this it was a podcast with Francois Chollet, who's I think he wrote I don't know if you've heard of the Keras Python library for deep learning, but he also wrote this paper called On the Measure of Intelligence, which is like it's trying to find a better measure of intelligence for artificial intelligence, basically, because I guess in many ways it's like a response to Turing's like measure of intelligence for artificial intelligent systems. Like, the Turing test. Can you like have a conversation with the machine and like not be able to tell it apart from a human? That would be a very my shitty explanation of the Turing test, right? But he was trying to come up
Right.
with a much better measure of intelligence because it seems like nowadays these machine learning systems. Let's take AlphaGo for example. AlphaGo can do AlphaGo very well, but it can't do all of the other things that humans can do. Like human intelligence seems to be generalizable to problems in a way that just current machine learning and artificial intelligence systems just can't can't even get close to that level.
Yeah. At least some people's intelligence.
Right.
Yeah, it's you know, I don't know. In some way, with how broad analogies are and the way we're talking about it, like it's not possible to do something without it. I wonder if that is a signal that we're missing some other level of it. You know what I mean? Like, is there something else? Because
Yeah,
that's
because
so
like
broad to say like nothing can happen without analogies. There must be something more then.
Oh yeah. Here's like a connection. Okay, you know that book I mentioned, the Sapiens one, right? Well, he was
Yeah.
talking about the time scale on which like human language and stuff, when we started really making progress, like there was this it was quite a short period of time during which human brain power really gained like some new ability, if you know what I mean. So it was like
Mm.
I don't want to get the time scale hideously wrong, but it was something like between 700,000 and 300,000 years ago. So
Mm.
some evolution or some,
oh, I
is
think
that right?
sorry, yeah, I think I heard about this, and I think it traced back to at least the way we started constructing like beds for us, so we would sleep better, so
Mm.
we would have better memory consolidation, and now we
Oh,
would
there we go.
have advantage
Oh, right.
because we yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if
Well,
the
listen,
change.
guys. I heard that we ate some magic mushrooms, and that was
Yeah,
it.
Oh
yeah,
That
yeah,
was the
right.
precipitating
I don't
factor.
know what books you read, but sounds
exactly. Well,
cool.
that's the thing. It seems like everyone produces these trying like they come up with these explanations because it seems very it seems almost impossible that such a large change could have happened in such a small amount of time, basically, because
Mm.
on an evolutionary
Right. Yeah.
timescale it's such a small amount of time, so you have to come up with these crazy theories. But it makes you wonder, like, what could the change have been? And I wonder if the change uh was almost like your it was almost like a regression, if you know what I mean. Like we got some sort of mutation that made us forget details, right? Or something like that,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And then we're able to do the generalization thing because we can just forget the details of these instances, and then they suddenly become the same thing in our mind. So we it's
It's like
almost
that's kind of counterintuitive.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you
yeah.
know less, but somehow now you can think better. It's so
Exactly.
stupid.
But it really is magical. Like that aspect of it, the forgetting, and that's actually a benefit.
Mm,
It's a
Mm,
magical
yeah.
thing, and it's really hard to observe because sometimes you have to
Mm.
wait some time for information to settle in and your brain to shape it properly, like remove the extraneous details, and then you can utilize it in some powerful way.
mm,
Yeah, it's like without this forgetting thing, we would have some kind of overfitting thing, and now we have
mm.
way more interference, and now we have to do
Right.
comparisons a lot more, which again requires energy more, and now your thinking is slower, and I don't know, it's really weird thing.
Right. If you didn't forget stuff, your analogies would be only very close things. At least that's my intuition. Like,
Mm.
because all of your memories would be so specific, you would
Yeah.
only recognize, like, oh, this is similar to that because it's almost exactly the same, you know?
Mm. It's almost like if you had a kid and they weren't able to generalize at all. It's like every time a new person, like no, maybe like every time they saw like a new dog, they wouldn't be able to connect that in their mind to like the concept of a dog. They'd just be like, this is a new
Yeah.
creature every time. Just
Right.
like these new four-legged creatures just walking around every
Oh,
time.
it's a little
Right.
different ears, so now it's a whole new thing.
I wonder if there is such like an ailment where you can't make like
Yeah.
abstract representations of
Wait, what
ideas.
is that? What was the
Like an
word?
ailment, like a
Ailment?
problem,
Oh, oh,
a medical condition or something.
yeah. Oh, that
That
would
would be
be
really
That's
interesting. I
interesting.
doubt there
Yeah.
is because of the
I'm
character of
sure there is. There's all kinds of things,
it.
all kinds of fucked up things in the
I
brain.
wonder, like, there's like face blindness, like prosopagnosia or whatever. I guess if you damage part of the brain, you can't recognize faces. Sometimes even your own face, as far as I understand it. Like you have to learn to identify people on other characteristics, the way they walk, the clothes they wear, those kinds of things.
Mm.
And so, if there is such a thing as that, like such an ingrained capability in human beings, such as recognizing faces, like I maybe there is a no analogy man. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's the case that, if you just took away the analogy thing, you'd be left like so, cognitively impaired that you wouldn't be able to
Desolate.
do anything.
Right.
Yeah. So it would just
Yeah,
look like
that
this
that could
person was
be.
severely like, I don't know, they just had something severely wrong. You wouldn't be able to tell that it was specifically the analogy making function that had gone. It could be anything.
Right, exactly. Because now it's reminding me, Hofstadter, he mentions that like every sentence you speak is just a series of analogies. So your
Yeah.
brain is going, this is a situation like where you use this word. You know what I mean? So like the one of the examples he gives is like, is this an and situation or a but situation? Like, oh,
Yeah,
this is like those situations where I say and. You know what I mean? So
I
without
like I never
analogies,
thought
you
about
wouldn't
it.
even be able to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He put it like this: without concepts, there can be no thought, and without analogies, there can be no concepts. I really like
Right.
that.
Damn.
So the man with no analogies is truly tabula rasa.
There you go. Yeah.
And the funny thing about these concepts is they update all the time, and there's really no truthful concepts. We all make them up as we go, the best we can. Uh, like kid kid in playground just realizes that this tall person feeding him is called mom. So this lady thing is called mom, and now the concept of mom is starting to form in his brain, and over time he might start realizing that other kids have moms too. Now the concept starts expanding. Other kids have moms. Then he might realize that his mom has a mom, that's a grandmom, and it
Right.
just keep expanding. And the other thing that also bad instances will die. Like he might mix dad as a mommy. Now he might think that his dad is also called mom, and that is a
Right. Right.
false thing. But as he goes, he starts realizing that this concept does not reflect reality accurately. So he will not
Right.
call his dad mom anymore. It keeps updating, and yeah,
Right.
I think it's really
Yeah.
interesting.
It's oh man, the brain is so amazing.
Fascinating.
There's almost like I don't know. You can't have. It's almost like. How do you think about this? You can't have like a true statement or something, or you can't have a true concept, let's say, because
Oh yeah.
it's never fully. It's always changing all the time. It's always dynamically updating. So there's no such thing as like a finished concept. Because I guess even like if you, especially if you measure your concepts using words or whatever, if you use words to represent your concepts, since the structure of the language can change around you, like let's say something crazy happens in Finland and nice mums start being called dads for some reason, there's just this huge flip in the language, right? Now you have to update your concepts.
Besides that one.
Yeah, your concepts. So it's like, yeah, everything. I don't know. Your concepts are always indirectly measuring something else. So I don't know. They're never
Well, it
true.
reminds me of this idea of metaphorical truth, like metaphorical versus literal truth. Something can be literally false, but metaphorically true. And I don't know whether I'm on board with that like dichotomy, that way of framing it.
Mm.
But it does seem to be the case that something can be literally false, but it still has utility. So it's, in some sense, it can be like metaphorically true, or true in some sense that's useful. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
the trueness of a concept, I think, is something like the utility of it. Like
Okay.
referring to someone improperly is not false or true.
Mm.
It's just, it's not a workable
Oh,
situation.
Yeah. Okay. And also by using some wrong model or concept, you're likely to be corrected by someone else. So you're always going to be like pushed towards correcting it, even using
Which
like a
is,
wrong concept or a wrong model.
but that's actually, like, obviously being corrected by others on things that are, you're obviously wrong about. That's useful. But
Mm.
I've been thinking lately, there is so much pressure from everybody all around, explicitly and implicitly, to conform, to be like everyone else.
Mm.
Don't say that because that's not what you're supposed to say. Don't do that because that's not what you're supposed to do. It's even in the most mild things. Don't sit that way. Don't do this. Don't do that. Like, I, here in America at least, when I was growing up, my parents, when we were in the car, they would say, "Don't turn the light on." Do you guys have that? Like,
Yeah.
don't turn the light on in the car. And as I grew up, I discovered, for some reason, everybody's parents told them that. I don't know why. I don't understand. Even now, I don't get it. Even
Ah.
now, I don't understand why everybody's parents told them when they were a kid, "Don't turn the light on in the car when we're driving." I don't know why that is. That doesn't make any sense. But there's so much pressure to do things the way that other people do them, or the way that they have been done. You feel it all the time. And it's like, oh man, there's this, the, even when nobody's talking, even when nobody's there, there's so much pressure to conform. And I know it's only loosely related, but it's something I've been thinking about.
Oh yeah. Well, just on the light thing, I think it's because it's like when you're looking out a window and you have a light on in the room, it's really hard to see out the window. I think that's why.
I don't think it's true.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think, how is that true? People drive with Teslas now, dude. There's a light on all the time.
Oh, is there? Oh, dude, maybe it is just a scam
Right?
then. Our
There's a
parents have just been
screen in it.
scamming us.
What? Why did everybody say that? Oh my god.
I have the notion of what was the last topic? Like false words and concepts or something
Mm.
like that.
Metaphorical
As
truth.
you yeah, as you guys were talking, I whipped up a book from Douglas Hofstadter called Surfaces and Essences, because I remembered
Yeah.
this thing where kids started saying wrong, like kids say wrong things all the time because
Right.
they're making these analogies, and they're not really wrong. Who the fuck is saying that's wrong? It's just how he perceives the thing, and
Right. Right.
it goes like this. I'm gonna read a little bit. I'm not sure where this is going on, but I think it's related. It goes on to categories and analogies of children, and says that each category, which is called concept, is the outcome of long series of spontaneous analyses, and that the categorization of the elements in a situation takes place exclusively through analyses, however trivial they might seem to an adult. And crucial part of this thesis is that analysis created between freshly perceived stimulus and relatively new and sparse mental category that has only one single member are no different from analyses created between perceived stimulus and highly developed mental category, which would
Mm.
probably refer to some stabilized word from some
Right.
highly
Right.
developed analogy. And there's an example that the kid Camille, age 2, proudly announces, "I undressed the banana."
Mm.
That is
Mm.
absolutely correct. It's analogy to as she would talk about a person or a doll, seeing the peel as an article of clothing that she
Right.
has removed from it.
Right.
Banana has been laid bare, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think it's a really accurate thing to say. And who the fuck is saying it? Like, who the fuck says that you can't say things like that? It's absolutely correct, and this is how
Exactly.
our brain works.
We have like
And I actually
crazier.
wonder if that's a sign of intelligence, like
Yeah,
early
yeah,
intelligence from that little girl.
Yeah,
Like the ability to see that abstract concept of like there's something on the outer layer and I'm removing it, as opposed to I'm just peeling this banana. Like I wonder if
yeah,
that's actually a sign of intelligence.
yeah. I think it must be really bad that we're kind of restricting the spontaneous analysis by saying there's this one through way of saying this thing. I think it must hinder the mechanism some way. I think it
Hmm.
must be kind of a
Yeah,
negative
seems like
thing.
it. James, were you gonna say something?
Oh no, yeah, I was just agreeing. Like, we have crazier things that we say. Uh, I don't know, in English that like along those lines, like undressing the banana. I'm trying to think of one right now, but I can't think of one. But yeah, it's like if that had become a recognized saying, you wouldn't look twice at it because it's perfect. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's many more. You were looking for examples. There's, come on, mom, turn your eyes on. It's the one thing. Here's a little girl speaks to her mother as if she were dealing with an electrical device, having an
Yeah.
on and off switch. And
Damn.
this it turned off the rain when it stops raining. And I think these are all fine examples.
Damn. Yeah, those are really good examples. And yeah, I don't know. Do you think there's any way that you can improve your ability to generate these sorts of analogies that really make sense?
Yeah, it's I think it's a whole thing related to being sensitive to creating those spontaneous analogies.
Mm.
And this is why I think like all my items are analogy items. I've been said that to you guys, and I just think it must be the case as you make so many spontaneous analogies throughout the day, you must become more sensitive to them.
Mm.
How do you say sensitized? It just must be the case, and I just feel it. I don't think it's I don't know. I think you just make a lot of them, make them all the time, and you probably will become better at them. I think it must
Mm.
be the case.
Damn. I,
I
I
think that's absolutely true. Like basically anything, if you put focus on it, you get better at it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like this operation that activates in your brain that you, all right, you do this a lot, so now I'm kind of primed to do that throughout the day. So now it
mm.
Right.
turns on way more and so on.
And that kind of priming, it can actually apply to your whole life. Like,
Mm,
if you're a kid and some adult you respect says, "Hey, you're pretty good at that," like that could literally shape your entire life because now you're thinking, "Oh, I'm pretty good at that," even if by adult standards they weren't good at it, or even if by kid
mm,
standards they were only a little bit above average, or even average in some cases. Like, if if you receive some encouragement, some reason to put more of your thoughts around a particular thing, it's like your brain reorients itself all the time. Like people give a classic example of, look around the room for anything that's red. And then at the end I ask you, okay, what are all the yellow things you saw? Like you're not going to see anything yellow because
Mm.
I asked
yeah.
you to look for red things. And in some way, that's like that's a small example of the way that the brain operates in total, I think, at least in respects to attention and direction of attention, these kinds of things. Like, I honestly believe the mechanism feeds on itself. If you do something a little bit, you get better at it, and then you want to get even better at it, and it's just a cycle like that. And there's opposite cycles where people get, into cycles of being outraged about everything or constantly feeling like a victim or feeling like
Mm,
they're unlucky or whatever it is. Like there's other ways of being, and I think it only takes a little bit of a spark. And again, I'm not trying to make this into a life lesson, but I certainly think you can get better at analogies if you just put some focus on them.
Yeah, I definitely want to explore this whole analogy item thing more. It sounds so interesting to me. And yeah, having like looked at obviously that Douglas Hofstadter lecture, I'll probably leave it in the description. Everyone should watch it. It's really
Mm.
good. And also the
yeah.
Francois Chollet, at least the introduction to this podcast that he did, because they're really explaining what he thinks about analogies and how important it is to like machine learning and everything. But it's
Mm.
it's explained in a really good way, a way that makes sense. And yeah, definitely. Kind of forgot what I was saying, guys. I'm a little bit tired, but
No, anyway, yeah, just I mean, I guess we can wrap it up here, but
yeah.
I think that I don't know, I think these analogies can be really useful. I also think it's important to make sure that you're not inventing them just for the sake of it. Like
Mm,
in some sense, you can make an analogy between any two things if you try hard enough. That doesn't make it meaningful. Like I shared that quote from Feynman the other day with you guys about how you can essentially just analogize any two things,
mm,
and that doesn't make it meaningful. The existence of an analogy doesn't indicate some meaningful connection between two things. So there is a danger there of just going overboard with this. Obviously, if you're aware that some analogy has no value and you're just doing it as an exercise or a practice or for the sake of it or whatever, then that's fine. But it's also easy to go overboard and make too many analogies and assume that analogy making in and of itself is good, and therefore any analogy I make between two things must carry some value. But it's
mm.
just not true, at least not in my experience.
Oh yeah. Well, I can't wait. I mean, I can't help but ask this. Sorry, dude. I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
It's okay, buddy. Don't worry.
Um,
Don't worry.
yeah, I was gonna say, what makes a good analogy then? How can you
Mm.
make sure that how can you make sure that the ones you're making are good, or how can you filter the ones that are bad, and then like how do you pick the ones that you're gonna include as items or whatever?
Mm.
Well, I think it must
Go
be
ahead,
just
Nico.
the same heuristics as just any other item or topic in your collection. If it's just meaningful garbage, meaningless garbage, just gonna delete that. This doesn't do
Yeah.
anything for me. I don't think there's too much conscious effort needed to put there. I think will definitely notice this.
Yeah, I agree with that. It'll take some time, I think. I think in the beginning, a lot of it is like,
Oh
oh,
yeah,
there's an analogy, so therefore
yeah,
I must
absolutely.
I must write it down or it must be useful or whatever. And then eventually
Yeah,
it'll go, okay, what's the point of making explicit analogies, right? At least at some level, it should be to enable the understanding of something or increase the depth of your
yeah, like
existing understanding,
indexing
right?
these concepts in your head. I think
Right.
that's what it is.
Right. And it's like, or just expanding what a concept is, improving the utility of a concept or whatever, right? So when you frame it in terms of like what's the goal of an analogy, like in communication, the goal of an analogy is you may not think about this the same way that I do. So let me give you an analogy to give you some sense of direction, right? Like that's sort of what an analogy is used for in communication.
Mm.
Like when you hear someone explaining a complex concept and they say it's like this, they're trying to give you a sense of direction for how they think about it because you might be in a different field than them or whatever it is, right? So when you view it in terms of those use cases for analogies, then it becomes way clearer when you are making one for the sake of it that actually has no value.
Beautiful. Okay, well, I'm gonna go away and make shit ton of analogy items. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
All right, excellent. This is a good chat, guys.
Yeah, this is excellent. This is so
Alrighty.
much fun. Thanks for joining us, Nice. And we'll be sure to have you
Sure,
again in the
sure.
future. Oh yeah.
Haha.
All right, see you guys.
See you guys.